Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host, Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death, and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. And Rick, you have your bracelet too, the I Just Showed Up movement. Yay! I am so beyond delighted to be joined today by my new friend. Rick, you're now my friend. I know you haven't consented to that yet, but we're friends now. Rick Prashaw. I have been completely immersed in your story, in your son Adam's story for the last several weeks. It has been a journey of grief and joy, right? Grief, joy, and love, because it can coexist. And your journey is incredible. Your journey is absolutely incredible. So thank you for taking the time to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Yvonne. Thank you for having me. I've been sidelined with the pandemic as far as book tours, so this is good. I had to get my pop up out and put it up, and it just is a good memory reminder of the good times of having conversations and telling Adam stories all around Ontario, all around Aurelia, and I was in Barrie for that 95 car pileup. It's just like yesterday. I was just a few miles north of that a few years ago.
Wow. Well, your story, and I love that we have this opportunity. This is one in this pandemic where many of us speakers and authors the brakes have been put on, and yet there are opportunities like this where I get to have you as a guest on my show because we can do it via Skype. And I want to share you, Rick, with the whole world because as I started my journey I've met so many extraordinary people who have taken their pain and love and traumatic experience and tragedies in their lives. And people always ask me, how do you move forward in your life? And I feel like if you can bring purpose and something positive from your story, then I feel like that is one way you feel like you can move on. And you have had tremendous grief in your life. And here you are, you're smiling. That doesn't mean you don't have grief. It doesn't mean it doesn't accompany you. But you've allowed love back into your life. You've allowed joy. And when I introduce you as someone who, you were a Catholic priest. You worked with politicians. You worked with NGOs, non-government organizations, not-for-profits. You left the priesthood. You married. You became a stepfather to 3 children, and I want you to take the journey from there and share your extraordinary journey of grief and joy.
Sure. You might have to stop me because I wrote 70,000 words on this.
Yeah, we don't have that much time today, Rick.
And I'm a proud dad, so I do get carried away. I always remember Rita Celli on Ontario Today introducing me as the guy that was Father Rick, who then becomes father. Proud father to a transgender young man named Adam. And inevitably on the book tour, people are intrigued by it all. They want to talk about the priesthood. They want to talk about my faith and my, the grief. So I know people tend to, with Adam, go to the headlines. I mean, that's just human, the organ donor part that we can talk about, the saving 4 lives, the gender journey, the epilepsy piece of it. But that's not my Adam. My Adam is just this very typical kid. We talked about that movie Disclosure on the transgender history. Well, the kid that Adam is Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird. That is my boy, the Tom boy girl. Tatum O'Neal in Bad News Bears. That's Adam. And so Here I am at 41 years of age. I had baptized 1,000 kids. I thought I knew something as a priest about babies. I knew nothing about children, and yet I love them. I had this gaping hole in my life. You know, people with some of the headlines today, even though there's so many good priests and good ministers out there, people said, why'd you leave? You know, I said, I left for love. I left for love, and I instantly am a father to three, and about 15 months later, Suzanne breaks it to me that we're going to have this kid. And within a couple months, the smart mom says, it's a boy. It's so like my David, and it's not like my Lauren and Lindsay. And so we started calling this kid Adam. And boy, 17 minutes of labor, which was a real hint of this kid's life. He's going to live in the fast lane of life always. Out comes this kid that's identified as a girl. And Suzanne just bolted up on the delivery table looking, where did my Adam go? So at 2 years of age, you know, the typical parents question, like, how many kids you have? Suzanne would answer at 2. She would say, I have 2 girls, I have a boy, and I have a wannabe. And at 2, she saw this girl very much on a journey already before a lot of us others saw, you know. But he was just the kid with the ball cap on backward, the telephone glued permanently in his hand. He loved the Habs. He loved Carey Price. For 7 years was an outstanding hockey goalie. And tattoos, I talk about the tattoos. Too many tattoos as far as Dad was concerned, and the budget. We had just had the budget conversation, and there's another Facebook post with a new tattoo. Then inevitably was Batman or the Habs or some piece of the rainbow and the pride community. So a typical kid, a normal kid that a lot of us and a lot of your viewers would recognize.
So let me just go back, because and it's funny because you are that parent that is just talking about your kid in a way that you just loved. So thought that Adam in utero, when your wife was pregnant, now your former wife, but thought for sure this baby is going to be a boy, born, and big shock is a girl. So named aptly Rebecca Adam, yes?
Yes.
Correct. And so the beginning of this journey, your child was Rebecca, played on a girls hockey team, and at one point thought that she liked girls, so she was a lesbian, correct? She was gay. And so there's that journey of acceptance and love, and like just through your whole journey, there's everything is acceptance and love, unconditional love. Like that's what you displayed over and over. And so from that point, then what was the next sort of step?
Sure. Well, unconditional love with 1,000 parental screams and shaking of heads, you know. So it was that combination of two. People would say, "You're just the best dad, and you should just win all the awards." I said, "No, read the book. Read the book. There's lots of mistakes and lots of missteps." And I just fastened the seatbelt and went along, you know, for this incredible love story and ride. So the two things in the kid's life that really to be understood, and the mom again was better than me. I tend to go to the happy places, but Suzanne would remind me of the hard life that this kid had. So the two journeys were indeed the gender journey that I'll get to in a second, but the epilepsy piece, that at 5 years of age, the first seizure happens. And they're the minor ones. They're the controllable ones with the meds. And a lot of people know about those. And that went from 5 to 10. And then, as sometimes happened, they just disappeared. They weren't gone, but more or less we didn't see any for 7 years. And that allowed for this magical time of hockey. The kid gets a driver's license at 16, which becomes a significant part of the story. But it's clear that there's also a gender journey happening. And the epilepsy disappeared to 17 and then comes back big time with this massive seizures and life-threatening seizures, and will lead us to brain surgery and Montreal and that whole thing. But the kid, as hard as the life was, just got up off the canvas, one day of complaining and then was back in a very happy place, a very sunny place that Adam would always go back and find, because Adam wanted to do the gender journey, and that was the part, and the epilepsy was always the distraction for him. And so at first there was a part that, we had the time, and the girl has all the boys' teenage magazine pictures up on the wall, and we think, okay, this is a pretty typical normal scene. And then starts realizing an attraction to girls and talks to the mom. And I am always, as the dad, I'm catching up to all of this news that, I think I'm a lesbian because I like girls. But the mom didn't sense it was over yet. She just intuitively sensed there was more to this, and a sense that over a couple of years, up to about 18 years of age, this boy is appearing. And so we got in this journey of counseling and social work and doctors. The kid was impulsive, and we wanted to be sure. We would love this kid and we would support this kid, but we just didn't want to think this was a Monday thing and it would be, over a Tuesday. And so we went along for this great journey. One day, Adam says, and I started crying and counseling, I can't see the boy in the mirror. I can't see myself. And that just really hit me, and I said, some days I don't like what I see, but I see me. And here, this Adam could not see himself. And of course, in this world that we live in, of boy, girl, and locker rooms and bathrooms, and the first thing in life, as I talk about in the book, we declare who we are and get in line on the right line. And Adam wasn't seeing himself. And when kids can't see themselves, it's a very scary and very, threatening world. So one of the best things about the tour has been to see the trans kids come out and talk, and for me to grow in my understanding that, again, I can still, even with my Adam story, have stereotypes, and to see the fluidity out there and the many faces and the many stories of these kids. And just as I say in the start of the book, we learn to listen and to love and to grow, and that really made the difference. And all of Adam's friends continue as friends, and they're just, they teach me so much, and I think I know it now, and then I learn another story and put another face to it. But Adam's face is just a good face, because I think, again, in that disclosure there, the GLAAD organization said that 80% of Americans do not know, have never met a transgender person, and probably it's quite close in Canada. So one of the things I like about the story in the book is just Adam putting a very normal, very human face to this, label of transgender.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we could talk for 5 hours, but I just have to just love on your family right now, because there's the greatest gift that we can give is unconditional love. And, here's the thing about a transgender journey: too many tattoos for your liking, whatever, right? It's acceptance. We don't have to love the tattoos. We can fear for someone on their journey because we love them so much, and love them unconditionally and support. And the other piece I love so much, Rick, is how open you are to learning. You want to know, right? You want to. So you just have completely opened your heart along this way. And I'm still kind of laughing from this talk about, let's see how much we can teach this Rick Prashaw in his life, from a Catholic priest to a stepdad with 3 children, to a baby thought was a boy, to, okay, epilepsy. I mean, that in it, it's like all of these things. Let's just see how much this man can open his heart and love. And then, okay, yes, I believe I'm gay. Oh, I believe that I am a boy in a girl's body. And, it's so true that not many people have met someone else who is transgender, who's had a transgender journey, even for themselves. So to surround Adam to be surrounded with that love and acceptance,
Right.
to have family, to have friends. That is what I wish for everyone, regardless of their journey. So I have to say thank you so much for that, because I know in the transgender world, in the, people who are different, quote unquote, the suicide rate drops dramatically
Right.
with love and acceptance, right?
Right.
From family and friends.
Well, Yvonne, I grew on the tattoos. I got my first one. I won't show you, but the second one I'm going to get is going to on the other shoulder is going to summarize Adam. So I sort of grew, and with the bookstores, they would always say, well, it's kind of a human thing. We all want to know something, what section it belongs in, and everybody wants to say gender or that's this. I said, well, just put it at the front doors because it's a love story, and it's a love story, and it's we break out of the labels to say this is a love story, and so I had a choice to make, and like I wanted to be a dad so much, so am I going to be a dad and love this child and grow with this child, or am I just going to judge and worry? And I'm on Facebook too much probably, but I'm on this group, in politics in the States with what's going on, and people talking about no longer talking to their children because they don't like the president of the United States. And I just commented to this one woman. I said, I can guarantee you, I don't know you, but I can guarantee you one thing: that president is not going to be at your deathbed. Do you want your children at your deathbed? I said, do you think this is really important? That they are for or against your choice for president. So it was just a reminder to me that, again, I like the image of the roller coaster. I just fastened my seatbelt and I went along with the rides of up and down and the love, for this child. And to know that from my faith background in the Old Testament, Isaiah, I've called you by name, you are mine. When Adam got to be known as Adam, and there's this marvelous story I tell where he finally gets to a place of employment, and I told this story at a human rights conference down east, where he gets to wear his ID tag of Adam, and he just grew. You couldn't believe how this boy grew with this name. When the boss said, well, it doesn't say Adam on your birth or on your anything. Mm-hmm. Adam is who I am. And he said, that's who you're going to be here, Adam. And it was just a marvelous moment, to see this kid grow. And I joke about the death stares he would give me when I would get all my pronouns wrong. But when I got it right and he really appreciated the effort, again, you could just see him grow to be himself, And actually, in terms of me shifting from some of the Catholic priest stuff, he simply wanted to be who he was and love who he loved. So I said, that's pretty good. I think that's what I want, and I don't have to understand it all and figure it all out, but I do need to, to make this choice, to love. And it's unfair, that I would be at his deathbed and he wouldn't be at my deathbed. That's not the way, life should work, but he just squeezed a whole life into 22 years, and I was so blown away by that and by his I think Heather Down, down there in that part of the world as an author, and she called it a love story. She was the first one to call it a love story. And she talked about my love for Adam. But I took it another step and realized it was Adam's love for himself. Had Adam not loved himself enough, that was the thing. And some of these trans kids do need the love of others because there are suicides, there's hate, there's hurt, there's discrimination. Everybody gets overwhelmed. I, in my book, talk about my grief where I felt like I was following a viral Facebook there in the waters after a shipwreck. And there was a moment I just wanted to let go of the plank because, you talked about grief earlier and it's just always there. It's just always there. It can surprise you. And it hasn't got no clock on it, So I just wanted to let go and just give up and be with Adam. And Adam, typically Adam, in my dream that night, takes another plank and whacks me over the head just whacks me over the head, and it hurt. I remember waking up, and that head hurt. And Adam was saying, "Dad, live, like choose life," and so that was a message that Adam gave me. It came from my father, actually. I'm writing about him now. He always in university would send us this little note, and at the end he would just P.S. He says, "Be not afraid and choose life." And
I love that.
Yeah, he came out of a depression and being in an orphanage and in a foxhole in Italy in the war. So I said, "Oh, yeah, he must have been scared a lot, and he must have been like not choosing life." So he was saying that to me to pass it on, but he was saying it to himself,
Right.
And that's why I think Adam's saying it to me now, Rick, Dad, choose life, be not afraid,
Right. So again, I love your passion because we haven't actually come to that part of Adam's journey, and we need to let people know what happened from that acceptance of Adam's transgender journey. You were supporting him, and that was also after 2 brain surgeries. And let's talk about that picture in the background there, what that symbolizes, when that was taken, and what happened on that night that changed your life forever, changed the journey
Sure.
that Adam was on, and then what the beautiful gifts that have come from that.
Yes. So that picture in the background is the cover for my book. And sometimes when you're an author, they tell you, go and see the cover that you want on your book. And I said, no, I'm not doing that because I know which one. So when we were at the hospital, I'd been out in California holiday, and I came home quickly and got into the I-28 intensive care unit. We started passing around Adam's phone, and it had this picture on it, which is that picture. He's in his hot tub, his favorite hot tub in the penthouse in the 22nd floor of the high-rise building. It's 3:52 p.m. on Friday, January 22nd, and he posts this Instagram photo. And the seizure that would claim his life probably happened 2 minutes at the most after that picture. And the sun from the sunlight is just beaming down on his head. It's actually right at the point where his epilepsy was. It's just an amazing thing that I recognized that later. And it was a haunting picture at first, but now it became very consoling that the angels were with him. They were taking care of him. And it was a crappy Instagram bad phone picture, and there's no way that Dundern says we can use that. It's got all these pixel hole problems. And Adam one night on the he's I just have to tell you, Adam speaks to me a lot, and it's a little text that comes right down the center of my head. So it just is what it is. And Adam's energy is always there. And Adam says, "Dad, stop worrying about the cover." It's just so clear that I hear this. And on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2 years later, my design graphics person at Dunder said, "Would you like to see the picture?" And so it's that picture. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture. And it's on the cover. And Adam also, I was just going to transcribe his post. And one night on the pillow, Adam likes the pillow for talking to me. He goes, "Dad, let me speak. Use my words." So I said, "Oh, okay, we have to figure this out." So he's a co-author because there's about 125 of his crazy posts that are on the habs and life, and sometimes they have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. He just shows up on the page. But I also like how I was inspired by him to let him tell his gender. So sometimes right in the body of the story, I just put together a bunch of his posts, and he tells his gender journey, from his own words. So we had a resuscitation, which was a gift for me. I got home from California on a red eye, and I spent 36 hours with him and with Adam between us, and these beautiful friends breaking all the rules in the hospital, and the nurses letting them coming in and saying their goodbyes and teaching me what every tattoo was on his body. It was sacred. It was just a sacred moment. And you wished for the miracle and you prayed for the miracle, and it wasn't meant to happen. But Adam, just his presence was always there. He was just a strength presence, and it led to a credible sequel with the organ story and the gift, the gift as a nurse, beautiful story that my sister, a nurse in California, just grabbed my hand, and she knew she had to have that little conversation. And she said, Rick, Adam's going to be fine. He's strong, but just in case, he's a strong young man with beautiful organs. And if it's not meant to be, he would want this so much. And I said, oh, yeah. Of course he would. But I wasn't there yet, on that part of the story.
So many, again, incredible moments in there. First of all, I want to say I'm so grateful to the staff in the hospital when someone's in the intensive care for allowing Adam to be loved on that final journey, to allow your family to be so well supported, and allow all these friends and for all of those friends to just show up, and family, how beautiful. Because, let's forget about the rules in this time. So there's so many people that played a part in Adam's life story and end of life story that allowed the grief journey continues, but more joy to come in. And I know that Suzanne, Adam's mom, when Adam had his driver's license, they had the conversation, and Adam said he would want to be an organ donor. So thank goodness you didn't have to wonder, right? It was there. And tell us about the extraordinary. I mean, obviously, we always have a choice, right? We don't always have the choice we wish we had. You would have chosen Adam's to live and to carry, to have your son living. You did not have this choice. And so you made another choice as he did. And tell us about this extraordinary next part.
Right, the organ part, yes. So I'm sitting with Adam between us, and Suzanne's on the other side, and she had a 10-second conversation when, as Rebecca at 16, opening up the driver's license, of course, getting driver's license on the day of 16th birthday, because that was my kid, and says, "What's this organ donor thing?" And Suzanne explained it, and of course I'd do that, and that was it. 10 seconds, but that came right back at a key moment. And we called it, I called it in the book, the easiest decision. I don't judge people who make other decisions because it's such a hard time of grief, but we knew Adam's wishes. And so it was the easiest decision on the hardest weekend of her life. And we were to get a letter, an anonymous letter, a heart-filled letter from this anonymous person who says later, as we were surprised and he sleuthed us to meet him, he woke up from his heart transplant saying, "I want to know who this receiver is." And I tell the whole story in the book, how he creates this crazy Facebook page. He sleuths us down, and it's an amazing story. And his letter is just so filled with joy and golden attitude. And I'm going to live for your kid.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you, Yvonne.
So this has been the show, Real Life Talks, learning how to just show up for each other and have hard conversations sometimes. So if you want to just show up for others, my call to action is always plan your life, plan your death, and love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks. Bye for now.